Captured. All right. I'm in Lexington today before a weekend trip to, or not a weekend, but a late week trip to the show in Louisville. And I know I'll see at least two members of our team there. Caleb Schlater will be staffing the precision planting event, and Chrissy Stern is there working with some clients, and a couple of my own clients from the machinery advisors will be present. But I will see you, Jason Lutz, in within a matter of 3 weeks down in Orlando. You're going to go to Classic.
I saw that Mac has a booth this year, huh?
We do, and it's just it's kind of a brand builder, if you will, Jason. We have some clients there, maybe as many as 5 or 6 clients, but the end user, the 4,500 to 6,000 corn, soybean, wheat growers that are there are not our sweet spot. We of course want to influence the people in between the supply and the farm gate. So yeah, a colleague, Zach Hedrick, and I will staff a booth. But more importantly, and I think I've spoken to you guys about this before, the AFA, Ag Future of America, is handing a technology institute. So there'll be 50 delegates, 50 collegiate delegates from over 40 universities that will come there to conduct an institute that has one day at the Classic, the Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday in a hotel room. And one of my colleagues in Kansas City at AFA has asked me to do some mentoring of some of that group as well. So that'll be fun. I'll see that for the first time. But most every large OEM in the iron space, the chemical space, the marketing space, put on their best show there. They usually attend that in a good number. And I'll look for, well, our friend, not on the call today, but Cam Camfield, who's working with Rob McClellan, he'll be present at that event. So we'll get a picture of some of the MACKAYBEN alumni. Lewis, thanks for joining. I saw you earlier on your cell phone.
Yeah, I had an issue getting the conference room freed up here. So we're good now.
That's all right, friend. Good for you.
Yep.
How'd your West Coast slick go? Good?
Very good. Good weather, good customers, good business.
If I could ask, how would you said that you had a connectivity from a customer that took you out there, and then obviously your talent or what you do translates into the soil sciences and the agronomy there just as well as it does Ohio. But who was the first customer that took you out there, and how'd you land in the Northwest?
It's a pretty progressive group of, it's a farm, about 10,000 acres. They grow several different kinds of wheat, but they're just struggling to organize their data and use their data to make decisions. You know, a lot of their business is very fine-tuned from the financial side, from the logistics side, and they felt like they were missing something. So I was at a meeting that Chris Barron put on 2 years ago called the AgView Executive Business Conference, and happened to run into these guys. And just in chatting, you know, we were I explained what I was doing, and they said, well, we're really looking for someone like that. And I said, well, I'll make the trip. And that's how it got started. And they've turned into one of our best customers as far as the need and the follow-up of getting things done when we ask for it. So
how frequently do you get out there? You get out there 4 times a year, or not that frequent?
5.
Good
yeah.
for you.
Well, trying to build a little bit of a business out there too, with some other clients and some other collaborations. So yeah, trying to get out there pretty frequently.
Now listen, I got some touch points. I just came back from Vegas this week, and we have 6 clients today west of the mountains in our machinery advisors. One of them is Oregon and Washington based. He happens to be the New Holland dealer, S&S Equipment. And Josh Ray, maybe, you know, usually, you know, with no disrespect meant to my colleagues in the OEM game, they're usually red or green, but New Holland has some presence in the grass seed areas with their combine. They certainly have a presence with the commercial hay growers that are out there, but I'll connect you with Josh. Our other clients are in Idaho. Again, that's a Intermountain New Holland dealer. And then we have three really strong ones. And Kaya, you may know some of your work. I think one of them has a Massey agreement, not necessarily a Fent, but there's three of them in Alberta, Van E and Webb's and Linden Agri Center.
Okay.
On the call, has everybody met? Jason, were you on the last call when Lewis was introduced or when Jay were introduced, or is there an introduction appropriate today?
I was not on the last call. January would have been the last. Well, yeah, no, I was in Madison for the January call.
That's right. You were some kind of dairy event there in Madison, if I recall, and we're getting closer and closer to our dairy client. In fact, I think I can express it now that we at MAC are working with De Laval, and they have around the Great Lakes, they have company stores where the corporate enterprise have bought back the distribution, but in other places they are with a two-channel distribution with large dealers. So George and I are working on that side. So
Russ, we work with that dealer group on the marketing side. Our sister company, our sister company is Ad Farm. And so my team supports both Flint and Ad Farm with dealer marketing. And we've been working with De Laval. I think we're on our third year with dealer, but they've been a long time partner with Ad Farm.
All right, that's neat. I'll mention two names. And I think, darn it, in my notes, Kaya, I think they have a contracted marketer. They mentioned her name. She's not in office, but the two people we're working with is a Clyde Olmsted and a Steve Harris.
Okay. Steve
Clyde
sounds familiar.
in Kansas City, and Steve is in Bannockburn, suburb of Chicago. And I will collaborate with you before we finalize. We've already, our SOW, our contract works already. We're preparing a survey of their dealers to ask them questions about how they financially monitor their business and what kind of a software package they use for finance.
Mm-hmm.
But then we're going to do a parallel track, one track of marketing and sales, another track of parts and service, and it's going to be 100, 200, and 300 level activities that we'll do with them. So it's not just a one-off deal. It's going to be something that we hope to package into perpetuity into multiple years. So
Great.
Neat to know. Good to know. All right. So today's discussion, I appreciate, I've got about a half a dozen submissions from your partners on literature and apps. And so I've pulled off of my bookshelf. And one of the things, if I would go backwards and tell you what I wished I would have, could have, should have, I wished I would have paid more attention and become a better reader, a faster reader and more comprehensive reader. My wife is excellent. Katie's got walls of bookcases downstairs and works with our grandkids real well. But I've got about 8 to 12 books that I keep at my shoulder that I've read. And one of them I mentioned in the lineup, and I'll wait till we're done and then mention some of these others as well. So I'm going to share a screen. This should take me. Are you now seeing an Excel chart that's got 3 green columns? Is that working for you, Kai? Thank you. Okay. So I asked each member, I said, give me an app and give me a piece of litter, a book that you would suggest. So I'm going to go to Kaya first. I'll go down here to number 5 because she's online. And Kaya, tell us a bit about the book Deep Work, and then about the app. I don't know if it's an app or a podcast that you follow with Adam Grant. So talk to us about your ideas there.
Yep. So the book that I've really been leaning into it's called Deep Work, and it's written by Cal Newport. He actually has a podcast that's really good too, but it's really about getting rid of the distractions and committing to doing deeper work. And focusing intensely and how much better you can do and how much more you can input and invest into what you're doing than just trying to get things done between meetings and between tasks and everything. So there's, you know, some key takeaways from that, but it's really all about developing that habit of deep work and kind of going beyond the good intentions and adding routines and rituals that are really designed to let you do that deep work and kind of invest in yourself in that way.
How were you turned on to it? How did it, was it recommended by a colleague or did you find it somewhere else in social work?
It was actually my brother. He's a professor at the University of Minnesota. And so he kind of has found a lot of interest in communication and the distractions of email and all that. And Cal Newport, I think his first book was actually about email and how that has changed communication. And so my brother turned me on to this book, and then I stumbled upon the podcast, and I was traveling a couple of years ago, and I've stuck with it.
Good for you. Good for you. All right. The others have all been submitted by colleagues, so I'm going to go from the top down, and this will be kind of a speed test, but then be prepared, Jay, Lewis, or Jason, if you have something to contribute at the bottom. The important thing, I guess, or the valuable thing is I've done some screenshots at the right of what the books look like, but as we share this with our other 12 colleagues, they likewise will be kind of influenced by the statements we make. The book that I'm recommending, and again, let me preface the statement by saying I don't read a lot, but when I'm on an airplane, I think I've mentioned Rob Syke to you before, and Rob has written 2 books. Rob's an agronomist from Western Canada. Lewis, he's excellent in the wheat space, and I'm going to show you his app as well. But he's written 2 books. He's written this real thin, The Agricultural Manifesto, and it speaks to what he says are going to be the key drivers of agriculture in the next decade. And it was you can read this in an elevator. It's a really quick read, but the one that really dispels a lot of the myths about agriculture and the quality of agriculture, the impact of agriculture on the environment, organic versus monoculture crops, is Food 5.0. And again, good book that gives you some insights that helps you when you're in your church circles or your book clubs to really support agriculture in a scientific way. Rob's probably one of the most sought after speakers, and you may run across Rob at one of your convention or events. So 5.0. And then later, after we get through the list, I'm going to show you his app. And I encourage Lewis, you particularly, to learn more about Rob's work with AgVisor Pro, because he networks talent like yours together. Have you heard of him before?
Yep. Yeah, I listened to Damian Mason's podcast of, I forget, Business of Agriculture, and he talks about him all the time. So yeah, I've looked him up. I've downloaded the app. Haven't engaged with it, but I've checked it out.
Yeah, it's we'll walk through some of the connectivity, but basically he's trying to be Google for agriculture. So if someone has a question, and the example he frequently uses, if a grower has a new insect that's invading his crop, a producer takes a picture of that insect, sends it out to the advisors and said, hey, good bug, bad bug, you know, should I be spraying for this? Should I leave it alone? And in a matter of a short period of time, multiple advisors come back and give him, or give the poster of the question, insights. Now, of course, it's still a decision made by the producer. You know, you could get conflicting insights, or you could get subordinating insights, and they come together. But it's certainly an infant. Rob's looking for seed money as well to grow that AgVisor Pro, and he has a pretty hardy list of people right now that could be consultants. The monetization of that is it creates a relationship that you might use that advisor as your services, Lewis, on into the future. All right, Jay, I'll be on cue. I'm going to go to Mercedes. Mercedes McHugh is a new member of the group. And let me introduce Mercedes to you. She is with the AFA. She's a cattle producer in Colorado. And she is at a sustainability workshop this week with AFA. But the book that she suggested is Inspire Integrity, Chase an Authentic Life by, I'll butcher this name, Shiachi, it looks like, Shiachi. You can see the book cover here in the middle. And then the app that Mercedes would suggest is the language app, Babbel. And interestingly, Mercedes is in divinity school, and she's working towards a pastoral degree, and that may be a second calling for Mercedes as well. But she's learning the future languages as well. All right, Jay, I'll let you speak to your marketing book and your blog.
Yeah, so the blog is actually not something I read every day, but it is the same author. The book, This is Marketing, I thought was great. Seth Godin has a podcast called Akimbo, which is really short, like pithy insights into kind of how the world works and how to be in it, that I find thought-provoking, helpful. This is Marketing is a lot about, no matter what you do, kind of, helping to focus in on the customers that matter, doing work that matters to you, finding the overlap in that place and not worrying too much about anything else. So I find it, haven't read Deep Work, but I find that going back to that book kind of helps me refocus on doing the work that matters to me, and finding those customers who are looking for that same thing, and being able to say for everyone else, okay, maybe that person's not my customer, and that's okay. So yeah, certainly recommend it. It's pretty quick, pretty easy read, and I find it super insightful, and a book that I keep going back to.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how I can remember in my younger life. I think many of you knew I was my first career was a school teacher, and I taught business education, business machines, but I had an English book that I kept on my shelf forever. In fact, I bet if I look long and far and hard enough, I can find that 60-year-old English book that had I can remember the chapter that I really enjoyed was the diagramming sentences and conjugating sentences into the action verbs and the adjectives, et cetera. And I kept going back to it. So this marketing book, the thing about marketing, Jay, and I'd like you to comment on it. Today's marketing is so uniquely different than a decade ago because of not the advent, because it's been there for 30 years, but the utility and the use of digital research. Customers come to a buying position or a purchasing position with oftentimes more knowledge than the salespeople have about their product and about their competitors. Do you find that true in your work? And was that addressed in the marketing book by Godin?
To answer the second question, or the first question first, yes, I completely agree with that. And it makes it incumbent on us to provide as much information as possible on the website when people want to dig into it. And yeah, I was actually just at a trade show for Orgill, a big hardware distributor down in New Orleans, and found that same thing, that we've been advertising our product for a decade. And because of the micro targeting online, there were people in that room who had seen our ad 1,000 times and other people who had never heard of us. And they're operating in the same industry, in the same space, but for whatever reason, the targeting just didn't reach one person versus the other. In terms of the product education, yeah, I think it cuts both ways, where some of the consumers really do dig in and really do become super educated about the product before they buy. And the other, on the flip side of that, is the total lack of attention and the quick hit scrolling through expecting something to be new, where we may put paragraphs of information about a product and no one will ever read it. You put a book of instructions in with a product, no one will ever read it. You even put a YouTube video on the page, and if it's 2 minutes long, they only watch the first 15 seconds. So it's a constant challenge for us to condense the core information into as little time and space as possible.
I don't know, it was your last one, but I watched one of the lock and lube videos with you in it just sometime in the last 20 days. And as an example, I treated myself over the holiday. My Christmas gift to myself was an electronic bike. And
Right.
I'd hate to think the number of man hours I spent researching electronic bike. And there's a zillion. I mean, most of them are coastal. They're out of California or out of the East Coast or maybe Colorado, the mountain states. And the utility that you can have for an electric bike, whether you're just using it as an urbanite to commute back and forth to your job, or whether you're hunting with it, climbing mountains and hunting game by getting into the woods on an electric bike. I mean, and then not only can you research it, and by the way, you bought it electronically and it was delivered to your doorstep, and yeah, you have to put it together, which was somewhat simple for a school teacher for me. But then you join a Facebook group afterwards, and every week somebody's, I would say it's probably 8 to 2, the positive comments that are made by somebody in that Facebook group that's buying and using that utility of bike, versus 2 that are complaining about the battery not holding charge or a part that they need or something in it. But it's, here I am, a user of a $2,200 electric bike, never met the people that build it, never met the person that sold it, and put it together myself, enjoying it myself. And you could go on and on and on about purchases of that nature that are made without never touching the nose of a salesperson that connects you with that product. So the world we're in. Good job. Good job. All right. Our friend Cam is traveling this week. I don't know much either about his book or his app. Does anybody know about Trello, the app? No, having heard none, we'll leave that up to Cam to explain to us at a later time. Kaya has explained hers. Darcy, I made a comment. Darcy is out at the farm show in California. Darcy's app is Instagram. And admittedly, she says she doesn't read recreationally that much, but she'll be very interested in some of the suggestions that we're making here. My colleague, George Russell. George is on his way to Israel for 3 weeks. He left yesterday, which is a relief to me, because the 3 days leading up to his departure is like 28-hour days in preparation. But George's book, and we use this quite often in workshops, is the book Quiet. And Quiet deals with the power of introverts in a world that can't stop talking. And I'm married to an introvert, so I have to, probably a good thing, you couldn't have 2 extroverts in the same kitchen. But it's a good reminder to people in workshops that the highest intellect often comes from the quietest person, the one that's most reserved. And one rule we have in our workshops is that you never interrupt an introvert, because nothing shuts an introvert down quicker than interruptions. And then they go back into, but they have deep thoughts, they have complete thoughts, and they usually express themselves very well. There's a higher percentage of introverts in corporate boardrooms as CEOs than there are extroverts. If you measured across the C-suite of most corporations, you'll find a number of introverts. So George and I both would recommend that. And then, does anybody not have an Uber account? Everybody's Uber users? I only wish Uber would have been around when I was a traveler internationally. And today I do most of my own driving, but in Vegas, traveling to and from Vegas, I used Uber. And it's probably, I know it's had its growing pains and its stretch marks, but being able to get a ride in a matter of 8 to 12 minutes and know what the cost of that ride is and not have to get your credit card out of your pocket. All of the customer backwards thinking that Uber has done. A quick story in Vegas. Tesla has sold to Hertz Rental a number of vehicles to get exposure. So they sold them at a very attractive price. Hertz in turn is leasing at long term those Teslas to Uber drivers, so that again, more exposure. So one of the lifts, one of the rides I took in, the first time I'd been in a Tesla automobile, I understand their celebrity, the reason that they get such good work. But their driver said, hey, he loves everything about it. He loves the obviously the efficiencies of it, but it does cause him to have to stop for 90 minutes in the middle of the day to charge it. And the cost of charging it isn't much less than the cost of a combustion engine and combustion automobile and such. But yeah, Uber is George's selection for the app that he uses most frequently, and understand why. Caleb Schlater. Caleb is in Louisville Farm Show preparing for precision planting. His book suggestion is Know What You're For by Jeff Henderson. And I don't know if you've heard this yet, Lewis, or not, but Precision's coming up with a app to support their some of their software programs. They're calling it Remarkable. And many, they would have used this as one of their announcements this winter in their what they call winter conference, when they expose new technology. And they likewise now, knowing the environment we're in vis-a-vis COVID, I think they live streamed their winter conference across 22 locations in North America. It may not have been all 4 days of the conference. Maybe there were a limited number, 1 or 2 days in those streamed locations, but that gives them quite a bit of exposure. All right, Jason, I'm going to ask you, got a contribution to make to us, something that you either use as I know you use technology with apps. What's your suggestions?
So the book is called Inside Sales Management by Mark Wilinski. Inside Sales Management, a great tool for a sales manager, hiring manager. Some really good insights and what to look for candidates, or good examples of tough questions to ask during an interview. Most importantly, there's good tips about growing a team and a network of sales reps, working within that team to lift each other up and ask the right questions during sales calls. And it's a good resource that I use quite often.
Did I hear you say Lewinsky? Was that the last name?
Wilinski, Wilensky.
All right, try it that way. All right, great. I'm going to amplify that. I don't know the book, but a lot of your colleagues in MACKAYBEN are enterprises like you. I'm going to say, maturity-wise, your company's what now? Is AgriPulse 15 years old?
We're almost 20 years.
Oh, good. Okay, 20 years old.
19, I think.
But still under a pretty steep growth curve, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going TV with your connections now, becoming kind of the Jello brand of communications of Washington decision-making and policy back into our ag society. So, well known. And what I picked from your remarks, Jason, was as you're hiring new people, the questions to ask in an interview, the questions to ask as you're learning from people. All of our colleagues in MACKAYBEN are doing that as part of their typical routine. They're growing their businesses. So that book would have insights. I know in my conversations with Kaya, as they grow their marketing team, a lot of mobility. People do come and they go, but putting the right people on the bus. In fact, George's second book that he probably would have mentioned was the Collins book of Good to Great. And that analysis of great companies comes from getting the right people equation before you ever start your product or service equation, and getting the people on the book.
Yeah, we all have different, different needs when we're hiring people, different roles and those sort of type items. But in our role in sales, we're looking for people that can close business, people that can build relationships, carry that relationship all the way to closing the deal. And I've learned a lot from this book as a manager. It's even helped me as a sales rep. So it's a good resource. I pick it up often.
Who recommended it to you?
Tom Davis. It's from Tom Davis.
That dinosaur.
Yeah.
Great guy. Good for him. Good for him. All right. How about an app? Do you use an app?
I do. So I'm not, I don't read a lot of books. And if I do read a book, it's, more, for work than it is for pleasure. But that being said, I read a lot of news. So I rely on the Wall Street Journal app quite often for, kind of business and world news, current events. But I'm also a big Snapchat guy. I like using Snapchat for personal connections and sticking around with friends. So
Okay. I need an education about that.
okay.
I know it's used. I know it's very, very popular, but I can only take in so much information in a day, or even conversation back and forth within colleagues in a day. And I have this apprehension, may not be well served. And this apprehension, if I open myself up to more conversation, I'll never get anything done.
I don't know, for Snapchat, I don't have a lot of, they're always, for me, they're very close connections, right? Close friends, maybe stuff you wouldn't put on Facebook, but allows you to create some groups. So we have a group of colleagues for work, and a group of, other friends that we hang out with, whether they're church friends or buddies we golf with. But it allows us to kind of channel those conversations into groups and maybe get a funny photo from somebody throughout the day.
All right. So tell me the difference between me opening up a conversation on a text with my family, which we might be watching a football game, separately in 5 different locations, and we start having conversation with each other, but we're using a text message. Is it just not as affluent, and you can't attach things to a text message as simply as you can Snapchat?
No, you could use it the exact same purpose. I think the draw for some is that Snapchats are, quick and they disappear. But yeah, no, you could certainly do the same thing in a group chat with somebody over text message.
All right. I just feel old when I don't listen to you guys. I just don't know. All right. Louis, how about you?
I sent you mine. I did my homework, but you must not have saw it.
Did I miss it earlier on?
Yeah, I'm gonna say you did, because I don't want everybody thinking that I didn't do my first assignment.
All right. Yeah. Particularly as a new guy, we don't want any bad marks early in the game or something like, but shame on me. I think Chrissy Stern did the same thing, and I'll be damned if I can find it. But all right. So remind me what it was.
Mine was Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Basically, it just talks about how most companies want to tell you how they do things and what they do, but they never really explain to the customer through their marketing or when they're trying to sell you why they do what they do. And I just recently read that book, and it kind of changed my perspective on our sales process.
That's great. By the way, when you mentioned that, as soon as you said Simon Sinek, I did see it. I don't know if I've got 2 email accounts. I use my Gmail mostly for this group, and then I have Machinery Advisor, but I did see your submission. I remember that Simon Sinek, and I'll make some more comments about why. What's your app?
Mine's pretty simple. We use G Suite for all our business management stuff, and Google Calendar. I I love that thing. It just has made me a much more organized person in communication with my team and making sure meetings are lasting or stopping when they need to stop, and we're staying on time.
Do you have an Outlook calendar as well?
No. Nope.
Interesting.
Everything
Right?
we do
Yeah.
on Gmail.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've got my Zoom linked to Outlook, but I maintain an Outlook calendar, and I'm sure it's my wife helped me do it because I wouldn't figure it out on my own, but it's linked to a Google Calendar. So in our network of 12 advisors, we all are all on Google. So if I wanted to set a meeting, I could look at that calendar and know where I got a white spot or an opening that the other advisors are available and I can fill it. But I agree with you that all of the Google, we have shared Google files that
Yep.
people can work into on a shared basis, and it keeps everybody up to speed. And all right, back to your book. I am a Simon Sinek fan. In fact, in this group, you haven't seen it happen yet, but it's not uncommon. Go back to Jay's remark about people not reading operators manuals, or even maybe reading an article in preparation for a meeting. 2 to 6 minute videos are really impactful, and I think he has some of the best. I'd like to know, I know there's a book or a biography about him that tells more about his background and his makeup, but I just resonate with what he says and how he says it. And I've probably plagiarized a lot of his work. Now, on the question of why, one of our clients who has 12 store locations in Montana, Brian Torgerson, he's a combination Case IH, KCE, and New Holland dealer, as well as JCB dealer. He's got quite a portfolio of brands. And I think he told me he has 400 employees in those 12 locations. And what he has is he created what he calls why teams. Only he shortened it to the word just the why, that letter, why teams. And it's a cross-functional team in his organization that is elected by their peers, and they meet once a quarter face to face, and they review every process of the company. And everything from hiring processes to performance review processes to work order processes to marketing techniques. And there's a guideline, I don't know, so I'll say the rule or guideline. There's a guideline that no members of the C-suite, the corporate team, are not on the Y team. It's made up of subordinate people, cross-functional, across 12 locations. And Brian just joined one of our peer groups just in January. He's kind of an ag guy, but he came into our construction group that's very mature. It's got 13 construction dealers in it with 92 locations. And in the first meeting, Brian just kind of a diamond in the rough, if you will. Some of the things that he mentioned, some of the things he's doing progressively, but your statement here about start with why, and I think I can recall some of my mentors, Lewis, would say you need to ask why 4 times before you react to a issue, an incident, or a problem. So that resonates with me. All right. We've got one from Jason. We've got one from Jay. We got one from Lewis. You can see 10 of our 18 people have made a contribution here. And I know Christy Stern has made one that I just haven't caught on to yet. All right. Let me stretch my my use of technology and let's see if I can I'm going to put on my Jay Bourne look here a little bit. I've got to get to the doctor tomorrow and figure out how I can. I've got good long vision now with cataract surgery. My short vision, and it needs a lot of help. So I'm going to work with my phone. Let me see if I can make this technology work. All right. Sometimes Zoom doesn't like alien looks. So this is my first chance at doing this. What I want to demonstrate what I want to demonstrate work with. All right. So people seeing my phone now?
Yep, looks like it.
Yep.
All right, good. I'm going to go down here to, oh, come on, Russ.
So I guess you're one step ahead of me. How'd you get your phone to show up on the computer
You
screen?
know, easy peasy, easy peasy. If you're in Zoom, the same way on an iPhone, Jason, that you slide up to get your turn on your flashlight. If you have an iPhone right now, slide it up and see if there isn't an icon on there that says mirroring. So you're basically mirroring what's on your phone. So you're looking right now at the AgVisor Pro app on my phone. And as I slide down through it, you can see this is the Rob Syke location. And you can see that in the middle there, I've joined the group called the Friends of AgVisor Pro. And right now I'm going to, for my friend, Mitchell Hora, I'm going to join right now this group called Regenerative Ag. So this will be the group of soil scientists and those people that are in Lewis's ecosystem that are dealing with the quality of the soil, possibly asking questions about that, or it's this call of the sphere. So I'm going to join that group. So the next one had asked me if I want to join Precision Ag. I don't think I want to do that, but I'm going to come down here and you notice here's the advisor group. And then there's a sponsoring company group. An interesting, Kaya, I don't know if you're aware of them, but the company that Titan Machinery bought called Heartland Ag Systems, I saw the other day, they're one of the suggested companies that they're already signed in with AgVisor Pro. I don't know the rate card, don't know what it costs for them to be mentioned, but it's just another way of getting their name on a ribbon. But I'm going to look at the viewing all of these advisors. And you can see there's Rob at the very top. And for your benefit, Lewis, I'm going to filter this. So I'm going to look at the US. And like I said, I'm going to look at the US. Fat fingers. I'm going to look at the US, and then I'm going to look at the state of Ohio. And when I open this up, Lewis, you tell me how many of these people in Ohio that you know. All right, is it caught up with me now? You can see Brian McLaren, looks like.
Yep.
All right, so I'll scroll down here and notice this is how immature the app is. This is how immature the use is. These are listed by the number of answers they've made to a question. So you can see that Brian has only answered 2 questions and Derek has answered 1.
Yeah.
And you
I
go
know
down
Derek.
and look at you know Derek?
Yeah, not tremendously, but he's in our local area here. I think he's actually works at the Soil and Water.
Well, you notice that those are the only 2 from Ohio that have answered a question.
Yep.
And
The other 3.
but there's 3 other advisors there that are listed. So when a question would come up about something that they may have an expertise on, it's up to this consultant to weigh in and make an answer. You got to watch for the questions, make the answers. So let's go back and I'm going to select a different state. I'm going to take North Dakota for you, Kaya. Maybe you might know some of these people that are already signed in as advisors. Yeah, it's just terrible to be fat-fingered guy. All right. So how many? Oh, here we go. We got a hot rock in North Dakota. Jason Hansen has answered 88 questions.
Busy guy.
Probably because of wheat. A lot of the questions that are going to be inspired by AgVisor Pro are cereal grain questions. And you've got Kyle Okie with 58 answers. All right. Here's a young lady, Bridget. She's active. Do any of these names resonate with you?
No, none of them so far.
Imagine that, a Hanson in North Dakota. All right, so it looks like there's about 16 advisors there. I'm going to go to the state of Missouri for you, Jason, knowing that you probably know more people in Iowa than you do in Missouri. Let's just try Iowa.
I probably know more in Missouri, to be honest with you, but yeah, go for it.
All right, well, I'll go to Missouri. So again, I don't see a count. I can't, gosh, Russ. My first recommendation to Rob is going to be make his states a little wider so my fingers will not touch the wrong one. Come on. All right, here's Missouri. All right, again, not very many active people. They're the highest one. There's just 2 answers, but I'll slide down through these. A lot of families, a lot of ladies in agriculture.
Yeah, I know a couple Buckmans, but that's the only name that catches my eye.
All right. Riley Buckman. Going to go to Iowa. Oh, imagine that. I did it the first time. Okay, active in Iowa. Here's a young lady with 38, Cole Olson. I was hoping to see our friend Mitchell Hora on here, but I don't think he's enrolled. Just an interesting way to look at. I'm going to go down here and there's suggested companies here at the bottom. You can see that AGI is mentioned. I'm going to review all the companies and I'll scroll slowly through this group and see if probably somebody there that's in your field, Lewis. I can't tell the location of Eberhart Ag, but it looks like that's in your wheelhouse.
Yep.
Beekeepers. This is alphabetical, it looks like. Flaman Sales, I'm familiar with them. They're a business, I believe Flaman's out of Indiana, Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. Here's Heartland. Here's the group that Kai and I are both aware of. This is a CNH spray company that would have been the successor to Tyler Patriots. They go from Wisconsin all the way to Oregon across the northern plains. Purchased by Titan in the last 2 years. Oh, look here. John Deere Financial. So they've attracted the John Deere company to promote themselves in this environment. New Era Ag, Manitoba ag retailer. North Star, I think, is the same. Rocky Mountain.
There you go.
RME is a probably a 60 to 80 location Case IH, New Holland, Case construction dealer across Western Canada. Used to be publicly traded, but they brought themselves back off the Board of Trade.
Our Ad Farm group has worked with them, so I'm gonna ask them if they know about this.
No doubt, no doubt. Verge is a company I met. They're a software program that maps trips over the field, Lewis. So in other words, if you had an irregular sized field and you really didn't know how to map it for the least amount of travel and efficiency across the field, that's one of the softwares that Verge has. And then here we go. Young's is, again, because of the notoriety of Rob Syke in Western Canada, because of the notoriety in the pulse crops and wheat, barley, oats, a lot of these companies are going to be Western Canadian based right now. But I expect this group to continue to grow. Let's see if I can give you an example here. Here's a trending question. You can see someone says this: first year farming, ground my own, I'm renting ground, yada. And if you wanted to read the whole thing, you'd open it up. Just finalizing a fertility plan. You can see the question's been replied to twice. This question about what plant population are people running on corn ground? There've been 9 replies. Let's see what the answers look like on that. Lewis, here are the answers. As you would suspect, in January of this year, 32 to 40K population. Here's one that says 32. Jordan's at 37.5. If you found somebody here, and if this was your question, you would drive down into this and ask to, let's say, for example, we don't vary population much in normal when the corn, and then if you want to know more about that, of course, you open it up and you can get the full answer. And this is in East Central Iowa from Mr. Olson. So I won't bore you with more of it, but that looks to me, for those that are Android appetites, that this looks like a pretty keen way to share information and to watch each other from a distance. All right. Short group, understandably why. It's trade show time of the year. Everybody's going different directions. Anybody I'm going to circle the wagons here for a comment to the end of the group. I'll go with Jason first, then Jay, then Lewis, and last with Coach Kaya. So Jason, anything you'd like to share that's on the AgriPulse radar screen that you'd like these people to know about?
Oh, we have our first event of the year, AgriPulse event, on March 20th in Washington, D.C. at the National Press Club. That's our Ag and Food Policy Conference. It's a single-day event. We host it every year ahead of National Ag Day. So the Ag Council of America comes together and does a big event in Washington, D.C. on the 21st this year, which is a Tuesday. That's putting a lot of our effort into that right now. We got folks at World Ag Expo in Tulare, California today. Big news that Mike McCarthy, why did I just say Mike McCarthy? Sorry. The new Speaker of the House just showed up.
That sounds familiar.
Just showed up today to give remarks on the upcoming Farm Bill. So that was pretty neat and a big step forward for ag. And we'll have folks at Commodity Classic here in a couple weeks.
All right. I look forward to seeing you down there, friend.
Yep,
Jay,
you
your
too,
turn.
Russ.
Yeah, we're on a sort of parallel track with trade shows right now. We want to be at the National Farm Machinery Show, but didn't get a booth in time. So we're jumping around at different buying groups and things of that nature, trying to get. We've launched a whole new line of air tools for tire inflation. So new kind of air chuck that locks on and related tools and accessories there. So that's kind of our focus right now. Doing some hiring. We're seeing we're investing a lot in our B2B business and growing that aggressively this year. So that's kind of where my head's at. I appreciated the recommendation on the growing the sales team's book. I'm going to check that out because that's certainly top of mind for me.
Hey, when you come, are you coming to what's July when the OE, the outdoor equipment convention's in Louisville?
What they rebranded that, the Equip Expo.
Equip Expo, you'll be there?
Yeah, I think we will be there for that. We're going out to Las Vegas for the construction show for Con Expo. And then
my God.
we've actually got guys in Louisville right now for a buying group, IDCO, that's all hydraulic hose repair shops. So related industries. Yeah.
I'll send you a connection with one of our advisors that'll be at Con Expo. It's huge. Have you been there before?
No, first time. We were supposed to go the last one, but it was the weekend that all the COVID lockdowns started, and we pulled out.
That's right. You'll be blown away by the investment that companies make in Vegas for that event. It's stupid money, big money spent. They put it together their best foot, and I think our friends at Case are going to introduce a new color scheme for their products.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, we're excited for that show. It should be a good one. Yeah.
It's huge. It's huge. All right. Good for you, Fred. Travel safe. I'm going to connect you with Luke Shepard. Maybe the two of you'll be a crowd out there, but maybe your paths will cross.
Great. Thank you, Russ.
All right. Great. Lewis, for you, Fred.
Not too much to report. We don't really do farm shows or anything, but I've got a couple of key prospects outside of Ohio that I'm going to try to see over the next couple of weeks and continue to develop that business. And we're developing an internal software tool. So working on that, getting it made and figuring out how to implement it and then try and scale this thing out.
You're a day trip. You're a day trip for me sometime in March when maybe I'll get up and spend a time, maybe run around in a white pickup truck together and you can teach me what you do so I can be a little bit more relevant to you. But next week I'll be with a client in Illinois that's Redline equipment across they're probably you're dead center in their market across northern Ohio and into Michigan.
Yep.
And I'll be with some of their executives at a peer group meeting in Illinois. But
yeah,
I'll watch calendar.
Explain that a little more. And if you run across anybody that there's a fit for, which seems to be a lot of people these days that pass us along.
All right. Well, good. And what I'll do is once I know a little bit more about your enterprise and what you do, I'll introduce you to that team because obviously you guys are passing the same farm gates.
Yep.
All right. Well, good. Appreciate you guys. I'll record this for those that weren't here and they'll keep up with it. If you ever see anything that comes across your radar screen that others should know about, pass it on to me. I promise not to be as flippant with it as I was with Lewis's submission for the work, but I'll put this out as an attachment to the meeting video, and I'll set a date in March when we can get together. Hopefully when people slow down from conferences and travel will be a little bit larger. All right.
Sounds good.
Thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Russ.
See ya.